Now recognize the gentlewoman from Michigan, Ms. Tlaib, for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chair Powell, for being here. You have a lot of economic, projections, economic projections, various data, various reports that are coming out. How much, and you've studied inflation, right? I mean, obviously, it's your #1 priority right now. How much is inflation impacted by these three things? Corporate profiteering, egregious executive pay, and the use of stock buybacks.
So I don't have numbers, but I would say in the case of executive pay and in the case of share repurchases, I can't think of how it would affect inflation. In the case of executive pay, that would be very small in terms of the broader economy. In terms of profits, though, the way I think about that is profits are high. The places where profits are really high is places where there are shortages and supply chain issues. And as those things get better, as they are, you're going to see inflation come down and even prices come down, and you'll see corporate margins come down there. And that'll be part of how inflation comes down.
So does that corporate profiteering does impact inflation? You don't have any stats of percentage-wise how much of it? Yeah. Because you seem, I really paid attention to your testimony in the Senate hearing yesterday, and there was a lot of conversation about, my neighbors and residents' wages and so forth. They're finally starting to see a little bit more closer to possibly getting fair wages. It's not even far enough, but I don't know if the Fed is paying closer attention to monopolies, corporate profiteering, and executive egregious pay. All of it, even the stock buybacks, you're saying all of that aside, you're focused more on wages and increasing the interest rate than on those other
Our focus is really on price stability, not so much wages. Wages play into that because they're an important cost for business, but they're not. We're not trying to achieve a particular level of wages. We're trying to achieve 2% inflation.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, Chairman, what we saw during the pandemic is, the wealthy and the corporations continue to profit in large scale and still do buybacks and still do really egregious executive pay and benefits and so forth for those at the top. And then, of course, the communities and such were impacted by it. But what I hear consistently is folks thinking that's the reason. All of a sudden wages are skyrocketing, all this. But all I see is continuation, again, of those that are already getting a huge benefit, the folks at the top, the executives and so forth. My friend Glenn taught me this today, that the feds are actually sitting on, something in Dodd-Frank, Section 956. You all are sitting on the last 12 years on guidance regarding executive compensation and the high risks of it. Like around, there was some sort of proposal done, not implemented. Again, it's been 12 years. Why is that something that you're not concerned about regarding inflation? Well, like you guys are sitting, one, you're sitting on it, right? Why?
Well,
it's been 12 years. And then two, why is that you're saying that's not big deal? That's not going to impact the cost of products and so forth for our residents.
It's a multi-agency rule, and there have been repeated attempts to get 5 or 6 or 7, however many it is, agencies to agree. That's one thing.
On disclosures?
No, this is on, it's on policies to...
yeah, which include disclosures and arrangements regarding executive pay and the risk of it.
There. Anyway, 956 is, you're right, we haven't been able to get agreement among the agencies. But more to the point, there boards long since, this is just for the big banks where we have this authority, long since board of directors are very focused on how executive compensation works and that it not reward, unnecessarily risky behavior and that kinds of things.
Yeah, but in Dodd-Frank, which Congress passed, there should, you're supposed to put something in place, and it's not in place. And look, I'm saying this because so many people in this chamber, and I feel like the feds are more obsessed with wages than they are in regards to the monopolies, the corporate profiteering. There hasn't been any, really, I don't think there is a laser focus on that, and it's really, because I think the feds and Congress can support fair wages and still combat inflation if you are fair in combating egregious executive pay, monopolies, and corporate profiteering.
We don't do competition policy, and we also don't, broadly speaking, regulate corporate wages.
But
Gentle lady's
956
time's
would have addressed
expired.
it.